Live from New York, it's Ask an Engineer.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Ask Engineer. It's me, Lady Ada, the engineer. With me, Mr. Lady Ada on camera control, running the show behind the scenes. We've got an exciting show for you tonight. Next hour is all about making, crafting, hacking, videoing, lighting stuff up, tearing stuff down, making things better, and more. We've got discounts, videos, nudes, not the kind of nudes you're thinking of. Why don't you tell them what's on tonight's show, and we'll get right into it.
All right, on tonight's show, the code is Swirly, 10% off in the Adafruit store, all the way up to 11:59 p.m. You also get free stuff. Lady will talk about that. Just did some live shows, including Show and Tell. We'll talk about that, and also Desk of Lady Ada and the Great Search. Had JP's product pick of the week, and we also have a little bit of a sneak preview of something JP's working on for JP's workshop. We have a job in our jobs board that's a remote job, so I thought I would show this because some of the folks in our community are looking for some remote gigs. We have a fun opening for our Adafruit IO services, including Whippersnapper. We have some retro tech, which is really neat. It's a two-parter. Some of you have seen some of the videos we've been posting on social media. We have an ancient new DOS laptop. What is this? Going to do some advanced manufacturing here in New York City, our fun time lapses and videos we take at the Adafruit factory. We have a 3D printing speed up. We have a top secret with some fun hacks and mods that we're doing, including an update to my little hacker hacking our kids' toys. And we're showing you how to do it too. We got some new products. We're going to answer your questions. We do that over on Discord, adafruit.it/Discord. We can join tens of thousands of us. You can ask your questions during the show and also at the end. That's when we answer most of them. All that and more tonight on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer.
Dun, dun.
Okay, so first up, Code Swirly. You get free stuff. I put them in the right order this time.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it for us. Okay, so first up, we've got the $99 freebie Pro Printer half-sized breadboard. 149 or more, you get the KB2040, RP2040 based microcontroller. It's a Pro Micro pinout, great for keyboards or other things in Gothy Adafruit Black. 199 or more, free UPS ground shipping in the continental United States. And back, we have them in stock. The Circuit Playground Express is our favorite development board that has LEDs and buttons, a little speaker and a microphone, and IR LED transmission receiving. Wow. It's all there. It's solderless, and it's great to learn programming in Arduino, code.org, CS Discoveries, MicroPython, CircuitPython, or even MakeCode. So many options. So all of our 4 freebies are available when you buy stuff from Adafruit.com.
All right. We do a bunch of live shows, and then on Sunday we did from the Desk of Lady Ada. We did a little bit of a preview for this. We got the McDonald's Chicken McNugget Tetris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
beep, beep,
yeah, and the DOS laptop. We'll go into
Yeah.
the DOS laptop in the retro section. But what did you talk about, and what did you do Desk of Lady Ada Part 1 this week?
Well, first part is it was a long one because we wanted to show all this teardown
Yeah,
stuff.
we didn't see any live teardowns of the
Tetris McNugget.
yeah, it's the 40th anniversary, 40 or 30th anniversary, and this was
It's almost the 40th anniversry of Tetris
McDonald's
too.
China
Yeah.
is where you could get it from, and so we took it apart and we showed you how it works.
I mean, it's McNugget. So yeah, it's we got this very inexpensive toy. It's I don't know if it came with a Happy Meal or you could buy it and it whatever. Came with a nugget box, which I totally tore open incorrectly. So it looks like a chicken McNugget. We can hide us so you can see. There's the buttons. There's left, right, and then there's down, and then there's like fast down. There's pause, power, speaker on off, and then the big button is for rotate. So you can play Tetris on it. It's like a licensed version of Tetris. That's all cool.
Yeah.
Um,
I always, so once in a while, we're walking around, we're talking about electronics, we're talking about running Adafruit, and we come up with like ideas and stuff like that. Like one time we're like, oh, we had a word game. We're like, oh, how many different variations are the word parlor?
yeah.
And there's like pizza parlor, and there's like funeral parlor, it's ice cream parlor. And then one of them was fictional books that are books inside of movies and aren't real,
Yeah.
or just books inside of other fictional things. There's like the never ending story inside there in that book, and then there's a lot of neat movies. But then there's other ones where it's like, wouldn't it be great to collect all the logos of restaurants that have the animal itself trying to sell you to get in? Like there's always like a pig that's like, come on into the pig place, or like chicken. So there's got to be, where am I going with this? There's got to be a collection that someone is keeping track of video game consoles that are shaped like food.
Oh,
There's got
totally.
to be, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be other, but it has to be a standalone video game that looks like food.
Okay.
So this is at least one of them. There's other ones. I'm sure there was ones from
Banana.
the little like one-off ones from the 80s when like Nintendo was doing the little
Yeah.
handhelds, like little Donkey Kong and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's got to be other ones that are full on you could eat it.
Okay. Anyways,
Yeah.
McNugget Tetris. We took it apart
Yeah.
and showed like it has a cool zebra elastomer. So that was kind of what
Yeah.
we chatted about.
We should this.
This is a post-futuristic DOS laptop. This went viral like a month ago, and I couldn't help myself. So I picked one up. It has an 8088, which is the 8-bit version of the 8086. I thought they were co-processors, but actually the 8088 is its own thing. It's got an 8-bit 8080 bus, not a 16-bit 8086, and were designed in Haifa as part of a partnership between Intel and their new Israeli office.
Oh, that's
Kind of
cool.
interesting. I learned about the history. So this is a laptop. Is kind of like a side project from someone. They used a laptop keyboard, and maybe it's an off-the-shelf laptop case, or maybe it's injection molded. I don't know. It's got like the ice port on the back, so you can like plug in stuff. It's got compact flash,
Oh yeah, we're gonna show
which
this
by
in
the
retro
way it uses an 8080 bus. It's an 8-bit bus, so it's a compact flash is actually kind of perfect because it mimics the same interface as old disk drives. It's got a USB. I've got to show a USB port. There's a USB key plugged in, but it's only a USB host. It's a USB host, but it's only for mass storage. So you can like use it to transfer files easier because there's no disk drive. Although I tried a USB disk drive, it didn't work either. It's kind of a bummer. And then it was in DOS, has some games plugged in already. I tried Tetris because I was on a Tetris kick. And there's also, apparently you can like change the backlight color, but it's using all these old stock chips from like the 90s. I checked the day codes. They're the real thing. It's very cool. Definitely like weird future past.
Retro future.
Very retro future.
Like the type of thing like a time traveler needs to like fix the nuclear reactor and there's no more DOS computers that have to go back in time or something.
Yeah, one thing I was like, okay, so like Doom, I think you need a 386 to run, but Windows, I didn't realize Windows 3.1 ran on an 8088. Like it was, it ran as a DOS program, but it's installed on it. So I ran it and I was like, oh wow, you could.
I'm just gonna go back to this for a second.
Okay,
There's got to be a Burger Time handheld from the 80s where it's like in the shape of a burger,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
Because there was all these like remember touch tone phones were in every shape.
Burger phone.
There's got to be a little like Anyways, okay. We also do the great search with DigiKey, where Lady Ada uses her power of engineering to help you find things on digikey.com. What were you looking for this week?
Big nuggets. No.
Yep.
I was looking for, well, I took it apart, and of course the main chip processor is like some ROM blob because they made literally 500,000 of these. So instead of trying to decapsulate or whatever, I looked for the piezo speaker. So the Tetris game plays a little Tetris da 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 in the background, and it uses a piezo speaker. So I wanted to show how you could get very low cost sound effects out of your design. A lot of like multimeters use piezo discs, video games, alarm clocks, etc. use piezo discs. Previously on a great search, we had done magnetic buzzers. So talk about the difference between the two and how you would drive them. They're not driven the same way, and they don't have the same loudness or resonance or size or material processing techniques. You use one or the other.
I put in the chat the Burger Time handheld from like 1980 something is not burger shaped. Missed opportunity.
Really should have been, huh?
Darn. Okay. On Tuesdays we do JP's product pick of the week. That's where we have a live discount code. You don't have to enter anything. It's just whatever product JP's showing off. Here's this week's highlight.
The A&O rotary encoder breakout board with Stemma QT running to a QT Py, and then that's off to USB. What I have it doing is sending USB HID key shortcuts, which can be used to work with my editor. I can do some scrolling through as I try to find that exact point where I want to make an edit, let's say. I can press the center to play. I can left click multiple times to go fast reverse. I can go fast forward, like so. If I find a spot that I want to place an edit, let's say I want to set the in point here, I'm just pressing up on my nav wheel, and scroll over here and press down to get the out point. It is the A&O rotary navigation encoder with I2C over Stemma QT.
And don't forget, on Thursdays, you can watch JP's workshop. Here's a little bit of a preview. This is a game controller that we modded. It was a roulette thing, but now it's going to just click things. Okay, then on Fridays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Sorry, 5 p.m. Eastern, there's a deep dives with Tim. We've got a job from the jobs board I wanted to show. So if you want to check out the latest job openings data for, we're reopening our jobs board for the world. We just had to take down a WordPress site that was just becoming too hard to maintain with all the different things it was doing. And
So you just have it manually.
yeah. So now it's just we have an easier way to get these up. So this is from our jobs board. So interesting.
Ooh.
Why? Let me
That's behind the scene. You can't show people behind the curtain.
yeah, so sorry everybody. There's a weird thing with our screen sharing. I could fix it though, and I can usually fix it like on the fly. Let's go back to this.
Okay.
Here we go. Yeah, sorry about that. Happens once in a while. So if you go to adafruit.com/careers, you can see some of the openings we have, but the newest one, and this is the only remote one we have at the moment. You can see this. It is embedded systems development. You can see it right here. If you want to read about this, this is with Adafruit.io. It's all the things that we do with Whippersnapper and more. We're looking for library work. We want to adapt the Arduino libraries to have them work with our low-code, no-code platform. So if this is something that you'd want to do, check it out. We have all the things that we're looking for. The rate, you can be remote. Please, please, please check it out if you want to join the team and do some cool stuff. This is how we meet a lot of people. Okay, let's go to some retro. Okay, the first part of Retro Tech this week, we're going to show the little like 1-minute video of the DOS computer, and then we'll step through and Lady Ada can tell you about some of the interesting pieces.
How late data was this?
This is a laptop with an 8088, 8086 processor inside. It takes about a minute to boot, so let's let it boot while we take a look what's going on here. So we've got like a 800 by 480 display here. It's an active TFT, although it's a little dim. There's a hack for updating it for brightness. You can say hi, it's yes. I got the version with the OPL3 Yamaha chip, so I'll find some software that uses this cool like sound card. Over here, there's a slot for an 8087 floating point unit. And then there's a USB port. The USB port goes through a CH347 USB to 8080 parallel interface. So this has a 512 megabyte SD card, and that does actually show up on the disk drive. So I was able to transfer some files over, and yeah, I've got like a little running DOS machine. It's really cute.
Okay, so we took some really nice photos. You can see the kind of translucent front. And then these are those, older components that you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just like I don't remember what all these are, but like some of them are like the 8087 is an FPU that you can get. And then over here there's this like Yamaha OPL. I guess this is a soundboard, I'm assuming, or like it has little musical notes, so it's like an audio or MIDI generator. By default it just beeps, right? It doesn't have like any way to make musical tones. So yeah, interesting stuff. You can see the keyboard, obviously, the modern keyboard has like the Windows logo on it.
Mm. And then here's the bottom. This is where I think.
Yeah, this is like the graphical system. And it has some text I can't, recall off the top of my head, but it's like the VGA generator and I think like the clock, the RTC, all that stuff is on the bottom there. And then there's a big battery on the right, the lower right, that's a 4 amp hour. lithium battery. And this thing, it's not meant to run on a battery. So that at 4 amp hour battery is pretty chunky. It doesn't, I think it runs for like a half an hour.
Yeah. Here it is. Close book 8088. And then we decided to toss it on here to show off
It's cool.
It's very sharp square glory.
Yeah.
All right, and that is Rich for this week. All right, Python on hardware time. This week's gonna be a little bit different because, first up, you can check the newsletter and see what we have. Last week we did kind of the breaking news recap of the Bluetooth Arise for the Pico W. We'll see how long it's going to take for us to do some stuff with CircuitPython with that. And you can go through and check out all the news stories, testing the performance of SPI-based LCD displays and display on CircuitPython, all of the news around the web, all of the interviews, all of the videos, all of the things that make this giant community go. But Adafruit was in the latest Hackspace magazine. And yeah, and I'll get to what was in there in just a moment. Because there was also some things about 3D printing, and I've had this on my list to talk about a little bit of 3D printing and open source. So I'm going to do a twofer. So what we were in, if you can download Hackspace, you could subscribe. A couple things. The Feather RP2040 RFM95 LoRa was featured in there. I think it got either like a 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10.
Got a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Perfect.
Yeah, and so this, of course, runs CircuitPython. And then we also got a 10 out of 10 for the other stuff that we're doing. And
there's two versions, the LoRa and the RFM, I think. I guess the LoRa. Yeah, the LoRa got 10 out of 10, or maybe got
yeah, no, we got 10 out of 10.
Oh no, sorry, that's the Witty Pie.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
We got one either 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10.
Maybe if they reviewed each one of them, because they look very similar.
Yeah.
One is,
Anyways, high praise. So thank you. And this is one of the things that, of course, I found on hardware runs. But what I want to talk about this week is, since on the cover was 3D printing, Prusa, here's the video that just came out, and I was tagged on this. This is from Tom's 3D. And if you look really close, this video is kind of funny. So the title of the video is "Open Source Isn't Sustainable Anymore," and he's in a church with an open source hardware logo. Okay. Which, by the way,
nice logo.
It's based on So I did there's a logo that I designed that got turned into the OSI logo. This one, and then someone made an open source hardware logo down the road. So when I see this, I'm like, oh yeah. But anyways, the thing that's happening right now, because this has happened multiple times, I feel like we're in the fifth iteration of the Matrix, is every few years, a 3D printing company is like, I don't like this or that, so therefore it's open source. So all these open source printing folks are blaming open source on things. They're saying, oh, there's clones. We don't want to do open source anymore.
It was funny, what happened recently that makes it unsustainable? Like, why was it sustainable until this year?
So the where this is coming from too is the Prusa folks, tons of open source hardware, known for doing open source. I think Prusa has a tattoo of the open source logo.
Well, you don't know, maybe cut it out. Yeah. With a sick ass panther.
Yeah. And the article that came out was the state of open source 3D printing in 2023. And basically, you could go and read the article, but you have to find it in there, because this is the thing. They're not releasing the files, so they're not doing open source hardware right now, and that's fine. Please don't. If you don't like it, don't do it.
Don't do it.
And they want to have a discussion with YouTube personalities, journalists, other 3D printing and open source hardware companies. They want to talk to folks. I actually disagree. I don't think they do want to talk to folks, because I emailed them. No, they don't. No, they don't. We have the most certified open source hardware.
YouTube personalities, though.
Yeah, I think we check all the boxes.
I haven't worried.
But we have a very different opinion, which is it's not open source that's messing up your business. It's not. There's other things, like people coming in and innovating and making lower cost things with more features. So again, this is a repeat of things that's happened in the past. So I'm just going to send a link to this segment.
This is a repeat, but it rhymes.
Yeah, repeats.
It
So
is a little
so my
repetitive.
thing though is, and what I sent to the Prusa folks is, hey, look, cool, don't do open source, whatever. But if you're not going to do open source, on the page right now, original Prusa MK4 3D printer. When you look at the product page, it says open source.
Let's
And
see open source hardware. Yeah, I mean, like, what does that mean?
okay, and
You
so
should explain what that means.
Slicer was based on something, and they forked it, and now it's like Prusa Slicer. The RepRap was open source, and other people built on it. And I just noticed this arrival. It's like, oh, we have a business now, and now we don't want to do open source.
I think look, I don't know the detail. I'm not a YouTube personality, but
I think technically we are.
I think that what happens, and this seems to happen a lot. Again, I'm not privy to the internals of their company, so I could be totally wrong. But I think everything is totally hunky dory. Love open source, love open source hardware. When things are going up, 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 we're like borrowing from these designs. We're licensing, we use a license and everything's cool and it's all working out. And we're using this slicer code, or we're like this motor driver, and everything is cool. And you love open source, and then you start to see drops in revenue. And then when you see a drop in revenue, and I know what this is like, you get a little freaky because you're like, like I'm losing something. And I think the first thing to go is like, well, you're looking at who is ripping you off or cloning or borrowing or whatever, and it sort of all gets mixed up together, and you get angry because you're like, I'm doing all this work, and all of y'all are just like, you're not contributing at all. And this happened with Chris Anderson. This happened
Yeah,
with
I might have got I might have got the wrong printer, but anyways, they're not opening source. The if I got the printer wrong, it might be the XL, but anyways, they're not open sourcing it. They want a new type of license.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember this came up, and they're like, there's some other board, and somebody was like, you didn't release this board. I don't know the details. I will say, I don't know the details. I do not keep track of 3D printing. But I think that it comes when there's like there's a point in the business where you get really frustrated because somebody is undercutting you. They're taking your work, they're cloning it, and they're not contributing, and it totally sucks. Like, I'm absolutely not going to say it doesn't suck and like, oh, get thicker skin. It absolutely blows. And in some way, people's reaction is to close, and that's fine. I actually don't like. I remember like this happened with MakerBot, and like B was like, I'm gonna close source, and I was like, cool, like whatever.
Yeah, I'm gonna go through. So, anyways, if I got the page wrong, the thing that I've seen happen is, the word open source is still used over and over after companies say, oh, we don't want to do open source anymore because of cloners. Oh, we don't want to do this, and it's kind of the same story. And they're like, there's no protection. It's like, well, there's trademarks, there's patents, there's copyright. There's no such thing as a permanent monopoly on things. You have to continue to do easier to use, lower cost, better quality, more feature things. So, Thea, who's on the Python Foundation board, and then also on the
also on the
open source hardware board, wrote a really good article. And I sent a note. I'm like, hey, I emailed Prusa because I assume they'd want to talk to us because they said they want to talk to people doing open source hardware. Again, I actually don't think they do. I think they're like, oh, we just come on, everybody, let's discuss. If it's anybody who disagrees with what the article is, which is like, we want to have a new license. The thing that's hard to nail down when people say that is like, what would this license actually protect that already isn't out there, like a patent, trademark, copyright?
So here's the thing. Hardware isn't actually protectable anyways. Like, the licenses mean nothing. So it's only your intent. And for, $50, I can send any PCB to a reverse engineering board house and say, I want you to like desolder all the components and give me the schematic. And a week later, they send you the schematic. Like, this is a very common thing that people do, and it doesn't matter whether I have the official schematic or
the other thing is,
they could start filing off the chip names, but that's kind of weird.
And the other thing, it kind of turns into a Twitter fight, and there's sock puppet accounts, people are dunking on each other. There's people who don't think we do open source hardware. They're like, oh, like Lady Ada uses Windows, or she took an elevator that has closed source firmware. Like, this is real emails that we've received. And so now, to give Arduino credit, they used to have on their getting started, what is Arduino? They used to say all boards are completely open source, empowering users to build them independently and eventually adapt them to their particular needs. The software too is open source and is growing through the contributions of users worldwide. Okay, they removed that because
No.
they don't do open source hardware and open source software for everything they do.
Correct.
That's the right way to do it. They recently
Yay.
also got funding. So I feel like, and that was my suggestion to Bruce, is just like, just be clear what's open source and not. If you don't want to have open source, there's this weird, like, let's come up with a mythical license. Because we kind of had to live through people making up lots of different types of license. Like, oh, like, it'll be open source after we meet our Kickstarter goals. It'll be open source after we're profitable. It'll be open source after 5 years. Like, no, if you don't want to do open source, don't do open source. Keep it closed and open later. And
the whole will be open sourced always is a little.
Yeah, and like we're gonna get eventually someone's gonna tag us on this. I'm just gonna send this video. It's like, please don't call it open source. It's a little annoying and weird when you continue to call something open source after you've already decided you don't want to do it. But here is kind of a fun little travel back in history here. Here is a quote from you, Lamore. Adafruit founder Lamore Freed doesn't find much value in arguing about who is right in the clone wars. Oh, really? There's debate about open source hardware. I'm going to keep shipping open source hardware while you all argue about it.
Now, what's the title of this article?
Well, let's see what year it is. Oh, August 24th, 2012. It's like over 10 years ago.
It's 10 years ago.
10 years ago. And the title of the article is Can Open Source Hardware Companies Survive Clones?
And it's about
So this is
MakerBot printers.
So this is the same exact story. Some of the actors have changed. Keep doing Spider-Man movies over and over. But I wanted to just do this one little like, hey, we understand this. We're not going to get in a Twitter fight and try.
I totally do know. By the way, I don't know, and I don't care, and it doesn't matter, and I'm not. And by the way, this is why I don't make 3D printers. This is absolutely not my interest.
Yeah.
Go to town, everybody. But here, and I sympathize with every party. And I even sympathize with people
I guess
Naomi who are like, hey, I tried, but none of y'all care.
Yeah.
Like everyone hates Behringer, but you keep buying Behringer.
I guess
so.
Yeah.
Sure.
To summarize my gripe, because I do have a gripe about this, is okay, you all don't want to do open source hardware anymore. You want to do closed source. Great. Don't blame open source though. You're blaming like these like clickbait titles. Open source isn't sustainable anymore. Yeah, it is. Maybe not for you. Maybe you don't want to do it. But don't throw open source under the bus. That's not the problem. Specifically, because this keeps coming out with Prusa. That's open source is not Prusa's problem. It's not the problem. In fact, they got here with open source. What are they going to do? Like rewrite every bit of open source software because they don't believe in open source anymore? Of course not. Of course not. So anyways, that's the twofer for this week. Well, speaking of open source hardware, Lady Ada, and also every week on the show, we're like, we're committed to doing open source. One thing you don't have to worry about Adafruit. We're not going to rug pull and be like, guys, there's a chip shortage and things are tough now, and there's someone who's making something that looks like our thing. We don't like that. We don't do that. So,
for a slightly different reason, and I don't know. I mean, like it's working out.
It's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody. But I would say that your business and your product and whether it's open source, there are kind of orthogonal things. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope I never go. I mean, I hope I never go close source because I have this 16-year-old me that I'm constantly like talking to, and she wants to do open source hardware. So
yeah, we're gonna do open source forever. The end. All right. What's the guides this week?
Guides this week. All right. So we've got an update for the Pico DVI Arduino library. You can now read from the flash memory, and you might even be able to write the flash memory by pausing and restarting the DVI, the Pico DVI core. Phil B worked on it and did like all sorts of like stuff in RAM because the RP2040 is weird in that you can store data and run your program from the same chip, and so it can get kind of funky if you're doing stuff in interrupts or stuff that's using the PIOs or overclocking or whatnot. Anyways, he got it kind of working. Check it out if you want to play stuff from an internal memory while also displaying to DVI output. We've also got an update to the ESP32S2 Feather guide. This product got maxified. The LC709203 LiPoly monitor that we used to use got discontinued. We've revised all of our boards to use the Max 17048. This guide is now updated and has new code to walk you out. Thank you, Liz and Kattni, for collaborating. Kattni wrote a guide on, I think, 2 weeks ago's new product, the I2S Amplifier BFF. Easy way to add high quality audio to a little project. Works with the RP2040, the ESP32 series, all of them. and the NR52840. So just plug it on the back and plug in a speaker and Bob your uncle. Eva did a cool project called the LoRa Signal Bridge with it's using that 10 out of 10 RFM 9X RP2040 feather. So it's all in one design. So you don't need to do any soldering. And this is kind of neat. There's CircuitPython running on the feathers, and they can communicate from large distances. So you know, like I always had a dream when I was a kid of having like a walkie-talkie, and my friend like a couple blocks away would have one. We could talk at night. Now there's cell phones, but at the time it was like we could send messages. Now you can do it using Signal. So you can have data going over a non-internet for wireless data transfer over many miles. It's an interesting project though, because it uses feathers as a gateway, but you're sending messages through a computer, and it's like using a little Python program, and it sends your data to and from Signal for you. So it's a point-to-point link. I thought it'd be cool. She's kind of interested in like off-the-grid networks. Eva does some cool hacking stuff. We also have a new guide. Oh, can you scroll one thing down? One chunk. We have a new guide for the last week's product, the RP2040 prop maker. So cool. It's got all this stuff stuffed into it. NeoPixel driving, accelerometer, I2S amplifier, servos, power control, terminal blocks for plug and play. Liz did an amazing job going through this board and have its code example in Arduino and CircuitPython to get you started. And then Trevor, who is our iOS dev, has been learning and experimenting with CircuitPython and PyLeap, the app that uses Wi-Fi or Bluetooth to wirelessly code your devices. And he made a TFT digital clock featuring his favorite character, Blanca.
Right.
Oh, also, sorry, you've got the PlayStation spinner.
Yeah.
From Jump. We're a lot of guys this week.
A lot of guys.
Jump Park did the spinner. So it's just like it's like how to interface with PlayStation controllers. You can cut in half a PlayStation extension cord, which are still made. So you don't have to modify the controller itself. You just plug it in and you can interface with it. And you just get the spinner working with this PS2 library. And Erin did an amazing jellyfish umbrella project. I love umbrella projects. They're great because they're self-waterproofing and they look cool, and they come with a handle.
Yeah.
I also used WLED with this.
You can see some of here. And the full video is on our YouTube channel. This is the YouTube short TikTok, short version that you can check out.
People are having a good time there.
That's cool. All right, let's do some factory footage. And that's our factory footage for the week. Let's do some 3D printing. All right, this week we have a speed up. Let's go. right, we're gonna go off to new products. Coach Swirly, Lady Ada,
Yes.
take it away. All right, let's kick it off.
Okay.
First up.
First up, we've got it's like LED strips. These are non-addressable LED strips. You see that MOSFET in the background. That's an RGB LED driver. This is an LED strip that has analog LEDs in it, so not a NeoPixel. You've got 4 wires. That's plus 12 volts. Green ground, red ground, blue ground. If you go back, you'll see the whole strip changes color all at once. It's going to be less expensive than NeoPixels, and also a lot of people have ready to go 12-volt LED drivers like built into architectural or home or automotive stuff. And so for those uses, this LED strip is handy because you don't need a separate controller, no microcontroller required. However, one thing to note is that this is a side light LED strip. So the light comes out the edge, not out the front. We have a separate one that has the light that comes out the front. But for some people, like they want to have, especially if you want to curve it around an unusual rounded shape, this is going to do a much better job because you can, of course, you can attach this to the edge of some wood or laminate or metal, and the light will come out in a nice thin strip. So analog RGB LED strip, that's right angle output.
Next up, dental tools. No, just kidding.
Now these are, well, I saw this, somebody tweeted about this and I was like, oh, these are really
These
a
are
good
handy.
idea. So whenever you're,
We've all needed these multiple times in our lives.
yeah, it's kind of a cross between an Allen wrench and a normal driver. So you get PH1, PH2, PH3, and like I think 6 by 0.5 millimeter flathead. The kit actually came with more, and I was like, only these two were really useful. So we're stocking these. They're hard steel and they're magnetic tip, and I'll show them the scale so you can see on the overhead.
Okay.
We'll add it. We added a demo, but it came in afterwards. Yeah. So what's nice about these is that if you are working on something where you have to get into like, an unusual gap, and you don't want to take apart the whole thing, like you've done that, you're like, oh no, I forgot one thing. I don't want to take apart the whole robot or whatever. You can get in there and you can wrench it on. One thing to note, obviously, these are not hex wrenches, and hex/Allen wrenches are designed for torque from the side, whereas flathead might not be too bad, but especially Phillips is not going to be amazingly good at getting torque coming from the side. You have to really press this in so you don't strip the head of the screw. So it's not for high torque situations, but it could be good if you just want to get something kind of finger tight. This would work fairly well. So I like these. They do look like dental tools, but I like you can get it, and I think I wrote in the text description, I think it's a little bit more than a half an inch of clearance. You can get in there and open up a screw. It's kind of nice. It's got magnetic tips and a knurled grip.
Alrighty, next up.
Okay, next up, we got big nudes. By request, people are like, hey, can you carry the 601 meter version of these nudes? So we do. We have the 1.2 meter and I think that's the 1.2 meter.
Yeah.
But it looks the same. It's got the edge. I'll show these on the overhead.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the 0.6, and then you have to go to this one.
So we got this one and then
0.6.
this one.
1.2 meters, which is really long.
Yeah.
And keep going. Show how long.
It's
It's long.
between the two.
It's like 48 inches long.
Yeah.
And yeah, let me go to.
See, here's another way to look at it too. Quarter.
Okay, so this is, hold on, I keep wrong plug. Okay, so let's go to the overhead.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just for illumination.
Nice.
It's illumination. Yeah. So one thing that's nice about these is that even though they're single-sided, the light does kind of come out the other side kind of nicely. And you do see the little dots in person, but they're pretty smooth. And I think, from more than a couple inches away, it'll look like just one long strand of light. The trade-offs of having such long strips, 0.6 and 1.2 meters, is that you need a higher voltage for these. I tried to get them to make them for me in a lower voltage, but they were kind of like, no, you can't do that. So the 0.6 needs 12 volts and the 1.2 meter needs 24 volts. It's quite a bit. I'll say that even though I have this just plugged in here right into like this is my 12 volt power supply, it gets very hot. I would put a resistor in to try to current limit these to a half an amp each. Half an amp through 12 volts or half an amp, so 6 watts, or half an amp through about 24 volts, which ends up being like, 20, it's 11.5 volts for the 12 and like 22 volts for the 24. So just basically put a little resistance in there so you're not driving it directly, especially since, your 12 volt supply might give you a little bit more than 12 volts. Otherwise, they do get a little bit warm. I mean, I don't think they're going to get self-damaged, but they are toasty. So they're expecting either constant current control, maybe add a little bit of resistance in there just to slow it down. And of course, you can PWM dim them. That'll also work very well. You'll just need a 12 or 24 volt power supply. We do have in the shop adjustable power supplies that go up to 24, and we have this is actually a USB power supply, so it's USB on the other side.
Yeah.
You can get either USB-C or USB Type A.
Pick that up, and I'm gonna put us on here. Can you pick it up and hold it up to us?
Oh, yeah.
To see what happens here.
It's so bright.
Yeah, it's neat.
Yeah, I mean, it's meant for light. I mean, it should be, it's illuminative. Not like super bright. You're not going to
you can
light
kinda
up. It's
see
not like
it.
a spotlight.
It's neat because it's making some of the green screen come through.
Give it a
It's
little
cool.
halo. That'd be cool.
It's a neat
But-
effect. It looks good.
Ring light.
Yeah. Wonder Woman's jump rope.
Jump. Yeah. Yeah, the long one, especially.
The jump rope of truth. Okay.
Okay. So, big news.
Yeah.
Big
All right.
news for big news.
Okay. Stars of the show. We have 2 products for that this week.
Okay.
Swirlies.
First one is this swirly grid. This is something that Scott and Jepler kind of were chit-chatting about. Jepler designed the OpenSCAD version that was 3D printed, and then Scott came in and was like, ooh, this could be made out of PCB material. Or maybe I said, I don't know, and he made it in KiCad or KiCad. And I posted in the product link, you can see the script. If you want to generate your own and manufacture them, go to town. This is an aluminum backed PCB, and it's got this grid on 0.2 inch spacing, and each hole is it's 0.2 inch spacing between things, and the holes themselves are a little bit more than 0.1 inch in diameter. So the dashes are like 0.11 inch, and the holes are 0.1 inch diameter. And by having this, instead of just having like pegboard dots, it means that you can handle components that aren't exactly on 0.2 inch gridding, because our feathers, for example, are 0.9 by 2 inches, and a lot of our Stomach QT boards are 0.7 by 1 inch. So you see, it's like they're on a 0.1 inch grid, but they're not on a 0.2 inch grid. Or maybe you have other dev boards that you want to plug in. So what's nice is that because you can slide the components around, there's always going to be some place that you can connect the components. The only thing is, that demo is still at the office. So
Yeah. And also there's numbers because you can, just specify where to put a specific product. Do you want to just hold that underneath the overhead real fast?
Yeah, I can hold it.
Just do that.
I can also go and grab.
No, that's fine.
I mean, you can see
Yeah, I mean,
if you wanted to mount this, you could find okay, maybe like this hole and that hole would match, or like this hole, and so you would go for these 2 slots, and so you could mount it that way.
Like cyberdeck thing with all this too.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So there's always some combination of forward, up, down slots.
You could weave nudes through the holes too.
That's true.
You can do all sorts.
But it was designed for feathers and Stomach QT specifically, because Scott was like, oh, I'm trying to build these projects.
Stacky we call them stackies, where if you order these, maybe pick up rubber feet if you want to put it on.
And I recommend, I will say, we have these M2.5 nylon screw sets. So M2.5 is 2.5 millimeters, which means it'll fit very nicely in the 0.1 inch holes and slots. And they're nylon, so they're non-conductive. So these standoffs are a great pairing because you can use that to keep your boards off of the aluminum backing. Because remember, this aluminum backing is conductive, but it's also nice because you can cut it, you can bend it, you can file it very easily. Would not do that with the FR4. Or you can also use it as a ground plane if you so wish.
Okay.
So interesting design. Good work, Jepler and
And
Scott.
the dual star of the show this week, besides you, related, our team, our customers, our community is
The I Spy Cutie Pie, which is a great little rhyme. So this is a board for Cutie Pie and Xiao dev boards. Little BFF. It's a best friend that fits on the back, and will let you plug in. Almost all of our displays and e-inks now have TFT displays, e-ink displays, and others have an I Spy connector, and that lets you connect to them without doing a lot of wiring. So if you want to add an OLED display, we have the STEMMA QT port on the front, but if you want to add a color TFT or an e-ink, you would want to use one of these because you'll need the SPI port and you'll need DC and chip select, and maybe you want to also do the memory select, SD card, backlight, all the pins. So I've documented in the product guide what each pin goes to, but basically you can get I2C and SPI through, and then TFT, chip select, and data command control on the RX and TX lines, and then the memory chip select for e-ink displays if you need it, backlight control if you need it, interrupt for touch screen if you need it, touch screen, chip select, and SD chip select. So I can show on the overhead. I got a little demo. This is an RP2040 Cutie Pie. And then I've got the BFF on the back soldered in. And then you see I just plug in this cable very easily. This is the slim style, but still you just use one of these low-cost FPC cables. And it slots right in. And then latches down. And then you can press the reset button. And it's got SPI. And I picked this particular board because it's got a touch screen. So the touchscreen goes over I2C. The IRQ pin is also going through here. So when I touch, it gets an interrupt and then knows to update the drawing. And then it updates the TFT. So it uses almost all the capability of the I Spy cable. But no soldering required. Just plug in this cable and you're ready to go. So
cool.
Almost all of our screens now have this cable connect. Can make it very easy.
The tiniest way to drive a screen.
Yeah, it's just
Amazing.
like I just wanted to make. It's like people were just struggling with like wiring and breadboards. This way, you can mount this in one place and have your driver chip elsewhere, so that the USB can be connected to. You can use a small screen or a large screen. Go to town. We'll be doing, of course, more I Spy displays as well. But I had to go through and revise them all, which is something I've been doing for the last year.
That's new products. Okay, we're gonna do some top secret. Just a reminder, code swirly. Let's answer one quick question because it's top of mind.
Yeah.
How easy or hard is it to solder this?
You can't really solder to aluminum. You can like weld to it very poorly. But if you had a steel screw, it would probably electrically connect to the aluminum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do some top secret.
Okay.
Okay, first up for top secret, we have this DVI thing. Then we're going to do some updates, big update with some toy hacking. So
all right, let's go
see you
for
on the
it.
other side.
What is this?
This is one of our TFP 401 based HDMI TFT backpacks. You got HDMI input here, converts here into a 24-bit TTL display. And when you connect to HDMI, there's this extra little EEPROM here. This is a 5-pin 24LC04 or something. And this contains the EDID. That's the thing that allows whatever the computer is plugged into this monitor to know that this is an 800 by 480 resolution display. And you have to have this EDID program. So normally what we do is we have like these pins here, you see, and then we connect to it with this Arduino shield. And I use this to burn the EDID in because the TFP 401 has nothing to do with it. It's completely separately connected. But this was really annoying because you'd have to like program this. And then you have to test to make sure the EDID got programmed. So what we would do is you'd plug it into this Latte Panda, which is a Windows 10 computer. And then you can see the display is this is their 5-inch version of this backpack wired up, and you can see a nice 800 by 480 display. Now you're wondering, why don't you use a Raspberry Pi? Because Linux caches EDIDs, and so you can't use it to test EDID burning, something that I learned kind of by accident one day. But now I've learned my lesson, so now I always use Windows because it always gets the EDID fresh. But I want to make it even easier and better. So now I've got my RP2040 Feather with DVI output, and it's got that DVI connection here. So instead of using this kind of fragile Windows computer and a separate board, I have one design. You plug it in, and you can get to the I2C over HDMI. So I press the button, and it will connect to the display, find the EEPROM, program it, verify it, and then display a nice, colorful fish tank, so you know that display is working. So all in one, EDID burning and testing. So making stuff easier to make here at the Adafruit shop.
My little hacker, building with you is magical. My little hacker, it's time to build and share.
Okay. My little
We're
hacker's
back.
back. First, let's do the little video from Jepler. This is some bear stuff, and then we're going to go into the update for the Baby Einstein
Tick along.
take along.
Okay, bear it away.
Hi, Jepler here. Did you know my high school nickname was Big Bear? Well, that's embarrassing. But this video is to show off the advances we've had with converting audio files and creating mouth movements for Teddy Ruxpin. Bye.
All right, so that is the update on if you want to do some puppetry, make your own like Chuck E. Cheese animatronics, pull the fur off of it, make your own little device, use ChatGPT, generate text, then do text
Write your
audio,
own story.
write your own story, whatever you want to do. It's now possible. The bears are on eBay for like $20, even less just shipping. And then our big update is Baby
Okay.
Einstein, take along, music tunes.
This is like part 4 in this series.
Yeah.
Okay, so
We
this
said we're going to put a circuit board inside of it so you can have your own music and sound. Oh, yeah.
beep beep. Okay, so the Einstein Take Along Tunes it's actually like I looked, it's like one of the top toys for sale on like Amazon.
This is default issue if you have a kid.
It's
now.
pretty default
So, yeah.
issue. So normally it looks like this, and it's got these like beads, so I don't know, you can play with it. There's a one switch that can go from high volume to low volume. I don't think it's gonna come through because there's noise canceling, but
Yeah,
it plays like little
it might.
music tunes. And it plays like kind of like your generic classical music, William Tell overture type stuff. I mean, it sounds really good. The audio quality is really good, but the audio cannot be changed. And like the first thing when we got this, when baby Ada was 3 months, was like, oh my God, I gotta like put my own tunes on it. I can't believe it. You know, you can't customize it. The case is really nice. It's got like this battery pack, this switch. It's like really rugged.
She also has songs she likes now, so we wanted to
Yeah.
be able to take those with us for a very single serving device.
Yeah.
So we have the board.
Okay.
All right.
So what we did in previous on previous versions of My Little Hackers, we took this apart and opened it, and this was the board inside. So not surprisingly, there's an epoxy blob. There's a couple LED, there's like 3 LEDs, one red, one green, one blue. Kind of lame. So you can see the LEDs here, and here. I'm actually kind of surprised that these are true LEDs and not just like wire bonded on. I'll go only a couple components, and then there's the switch, which we have to recycle, and like maybe a switch cap converter here, and an elastomer button here. So we took this out, we scanned it, and retraced it out, and then we decided, okay, let's try using an ESP32S2, and we like soldered one in and got it playing to the speaker and verified it can run off the battery. So the next step was we were going to design a new PCB. So I think like 2 weeks ago I showed off the design for the new PCB. It's here it is. Well, actually, I'll show it here. This is what it looks like. So I designed a new circuit board, which is the same overlay. Actually, didn't come out too bad. It has the same holes and cutouts. and then the elastomer is in the same location. It was great with a scan because I just traced it over. Has an ESP32S2, a micro SD card so you can store songs on it, USB-C for loading data on and also programming it, Stemma QT in case you want to like add some sensors or something, boost converter so it can run off of, these are the two battery connection tabs. So when you open it, these tabs over here get soldered directly to the circuit board, and then it'll get boosted through to 3.3 volts. Here that can then drive this ESP32S2, which means you can, the reason I went with Wi-Fi so you can wirelessly program it, because once it's in the case, it's really hard to get to. Like you don't want to keep opening it every time you want to change songs or change the code. So you can use our Wi-Fi workflow to wirelessly program it. And of course, NeoPixels. So we've got 5 NeoPixels, almost twice as many LEDs, and they're RGB. So you can have way more colors. And then this is the replacement. Hold on, I snapped this on. You can remove it. So this is the replacement. And it just snaps in. I didn't put in the screws, but you don't actually need the screws. And then the elastomer here. So I'm still working on the battery booster. There's something not quite right with the changeover. I think one of my resistors is the wrong value, or maybe I didn't check it right. But
We're gonna have this for sale in the store, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a product. We want to make a bunch of circuit board designs. So people who want to get into product development, people who want to make one of these for someone they know.
Yeah.
But also just to give you an idea of the types of things that you can do with existing enclosures as well.
So it's soldered into the battery tabs here. Again, the booster's not quite working, but it does work over USB. You know, that's part of the revision process. I only got one. I got one way of going. So
we have a light pattern, which, you know, is, of course, it's going to be way better than the default toy thing.
Yeah.
We also have
you saw it's running.
a song that we put on there too.
It's running CircuitPython because you can see the activity light. So I just quickly Dan,
Icon powered baby toys.
that's right. Dan Halbert quickly did a board definition for me, so all of this stuff is working. Plugged in an SD card, and what's really nice is, you know, it's ironic. I actually used ChatGPT to be like, "Hey, can you write the code for me?" And it wasn't completely right, but it I could copy and paste the lines, so I didn't have to, you know, write all the code from scratch. It was actually my code. I just didn't know where. It's on the learning system, one of the 4,000 guides. So just to show, like here, with the top on, and then, you know, this is the RGB LEDs lighting up. So you notice that the original PCB didn't come out to the left. Yeah, this is running. This is the it's, what's it called? It's a
Turtle
chicken.
Beats or something?
No, it's like the chicken dance. I think it's JP song or
Yeah.
Candy song. Somebody, I don't know who wrote it. And then the second song is stored on the SD card. So I'll play it again and then I'll hold it up. Wait.
We do have noise canceling going
I don't
on,
know if it's coming through.
so it might be a little.
So right now the button, I know the overhead. So the button does play pause. You know, there's only one button, so it does play pause. It's also used for bootloader mode, and of course I'll you know, you can see the LEDs. So the LEDs can actually do some cool stuff. I might have them do like an FFT reaction, so they react to the music. So the good news is that you know, a lot of the hardware works. You know, I can upload the I2S amplifier, and this is using the built-in speaker, which is not too bad. The I2S amplifier works, and the SD card works, and the ESP32 works, and the NeoPixels work. And then this is a reset button, but I still had a little bit, and the elastomer is good. So I just have to figure out this boost converter, probably do another board spin, and then I'll probably be done. But so far, it's working really nicely, and I like it. It fit just right into all the slots and dots.
Yeah, and then just, you know, these they're everywhere. They're low cost, and you know, you can hack and mod them. You can make it so you have your own single serving music player too.
Yeah.
So we thought that was a neat idea for people to learn how to do all this stuff. How do you learn to be a toy designer? This is a way. How do you learn to make all this type of stuff and have your electronics fit into enclosures? So
Anyways, so interesting stuff. So yeah, we'll be.
yeah, that is
More to
this
come.
week's top secret. Okay, don't forget the code is swirly. We answered some questions during the show, but go ahead and line up any you got. We answered the question about the new product. How would you start to? People had some really good suggestions in there. By the way,
Yeah.
if you want to, use both, there's a couple links were posted in there. You can start to that. There was a question in one of the other chats, and luckily I had a handy link from a previous show. Are we going to move the KiCad?
We have a link for that.
Yeah. So yeah,
You should go watch the link.
yeah, we're going to do that. What's interesting is one example of one of the benefits of doing more stuff with KiCad is the generative stuff from the product this week.
That is kind of cool. It's like,
Yeah,
he's
you
like,
can-
oh, I can make any size and
can-
quantity. And he's like 5 by 10. And
Yeah, and you can programmatically put the numbers on there, and it does a bunch of alignment. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
it's neat.
This is pretty neat.
I mean, ULP's Illegal Cat can do it too, but anyways.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we got to the questions during the show, so I think
Yeah.
we might. I think we might be outie.
Huh?
We just
Oh, that's
double
fine.
check. Scroll. I don't know. It's reference to. That's
Sounds
it.
like a sound. Okay.
Yeah, that is.
Oh, it is a JP creation. Street chicken.
Yeah. Street chicken.
A classic.
Street chicken. That's our show tonight, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much for joining us. Special thanks to Zay behind the scenes and Slack helping us out. And thanks to all of y'all who support open source. It got us here. Don't just discard it.
I'm going to open source this toy thing.
We're opening. Yeah. Yeah. You know what I like is the two companies that are doing the most certified open source hardware is Adafruit and SparkFun. And we're just going to probably keep doing it. And you can go to the OSHA certification site, and there's thousands there. And I'm glad we put it there because it's a signal of our commitment to sharing the information to uplift everyone. We're all here because of someone else and something else. So we're going to keep at it. Thank you so much. Don't forget the code is Swirly. We'll see everybody next week. Here is your moment of Zener. This was an Adafruit production.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.